So let's talk about the flight plan. So how do we get there? Now that we sort of have the mission, we know why we want to go there, let's talk about how we actually get there and some of the things that we need to take into consideration. So these aren't going to be hopefully revolutionary for you. I know as organizations like yourselves, as you look at these types of movements, hopefully these particular topics will resonate, but they are certainly important with this type of implementation. Certainly the first one is dependencies. And I would say with dependencies, the art to this is honesty. So when you look at timing, people, and technology, really be honest with what your organization has in flight or what you can actually do from a staffing perspective or from a technology perspective to support this migration. Also think about, once again, back to the theme of honesty, competing priorities. If you have other projects or rollouts that are actually in flight, other business events, whether that's a reorganization or an acquisition or anything else, a budgetary constraint that really may not necessarily help you do what you want to do in this particular time frame, or may have you potentially revisit your scope and really think about what you can absorb and effectively deploy. All of these things matter, and as you look at them and as we start talking a bit about scope and definition of functionality, these certainly all play factors in that particular equation. Organizational readiness is certainly key, and it's a critical one. If you have a specific service delivery model today, whether you're in the HR world or you're maybe running, you're looking at this from a financials perspective, the way that you support your particular internal customers, and whether that's a shared services model or more of a distributed model, understanding where you want to take your service delivery model and thinking about organizational readiness is really critical to this type of rollout. The technology can help enable some of that, but you don't want to put yourself into a situation where you don't understand what the destination is going to be, and as a result, through the course of the implementation or the deployment, you're really trying to hit a bit of a moving target, right? We talked a bit about standardization and unification. This comes back to organizational readiness and what you're really trying to achieve. We find that organizations, once again, that are trying to make this migration and have standardization as one of their top priorities will really do so from the top down. So we worked with a 13,000 employee organization, for example, that at the CEO level was really touting the fact that for their organization to go to the next level, they really need to embrace the concept of a company of one. Meaning that we really needed to come together and make sure that we were leveraging the full capabilities of this organization, the knowledge that we had, the talent that we had, and implementing a system like Workday was going to just be one important factor in giving us that level of visibility and that opportunity to just standardize. But setting the stage with that type of overall corporate initiative and the voice of the CEO makes a really big difference in your ability to really sort of execute on that second bullet and ensure that you're able to drive some of that change to the organization. Team availability and skill sets really does take two forms. One is certainly in your ability to allocate the people to implement the solution, but at the same time, thinking about what a solution like this will mean to the people that you have and the skill sets that you have, and how you may want to continue to look at your service delivery model to update what people are doing, and as a result, potentially look at refreshing of skill set opportunities as well. So for example, if you have a team today and most of their time is spent throwing on capes and running around, running reports and getting information to executives or vice presidents and being heroic, and in the future state after you roll a system like this out, that type of activity is no longer necessary, hopefully, and these individuals can now start to play more of a strategic role in the support of these executives and these vice presidents. How do you empower them to do that, and how do you prepare them to do that and make sure that they have the skill sets and the capabilities to provide that level of support? So this is a really important one because there is certainly a paradigm or an organizational shift that typically will occur if you actually accomplish what you're trying to accomplish with this type of migration. Don't think about just how you get there, but also think about when you get there, during the course of that journey, how you prepare yourself for that destination. So scope is something that organizations also struggle with quite a bit, and we'll talk a bit about big bang versus phased. my key takeaway here is that if you're going to look at a rollout, and in this particular case I've given you sort of a visual representation of an HCM rollout or an HCM enterprise deployment, but there's a lot of opportunity with a system like Workday that is a SaaS-enabled solution that gives you a number of different functional areas or components or capabilities that you don't have to all digest at once. You have the ability to really strategically think about what you need as an organization and how those needs align with your events. So I always say that the best roadmaps are the ones that really take into account your organizational business processes and events, and at the same time anything else that may necessarily have some type of timeline or event associated with it, vis-a-vis, for example, a contract expiration or something similar to that. Because the more you can align your roadmap to those types of events, the more you can really think about what you need to do now and what makes sense to do later. There is a bit of a just-in-time factor here as well. So the best example I can give you is if you sort of look at this roadmap and you take a look at this initial deployment for a 6-month deployment, which will get you live January 2016. That's primarily being driven by getting global HCM out the door, U.S. payroll, obviously January 1, 2016 go live is a very clean cutover for payroll. And then you'll see some other components in there as well, like onboarding, absence management, and benefits. You don't see performance and goal management come in until a future state, because for this particular organization, their annual performance review process doesn't start until April, and their merit review process doesn't start until May. So understanding that and taking that into account, there's very little advantage to implementing those components during the original go-live for a couple of reasons. One is you're putting more onus on the initial deployment and the team that you have to deliver those particular products and test those and make sure that they are ready for launch. But second of all, with a product like Workday that continues to innovate and provide new capabilities and has 2 updates every year, it's very possible that by that January rollout, there may be some new capabilities within the application set, either around performance and goal management or merit, that you can take advantage of. And if you didn't plan accordingly and you actually implemented those earlier than later, it doesn't give you that sort of opportunity to really be a little bit more strategic and accommodating to those types of updates and changes in the system. So this type of roadmap, targeting those business events, looking forward once again into like a November phase 3 go live, benefit enrollment is one of those key drivers. You can see recruiting is listed here because their Taleo contract expires in December, so we wanted to be timely with that. And then they're also going to start looking at things like succession management, career development, and planning, which sort of take talent management to the next level within a system like Workday and starts to leverage the information that you've been able to capture to date in the solution. And then you never know future-wise. In this particular case, for example, they acquired a professional service organization, so as a result, professional service automation became something of interest, so project expenses and time tracking came into scope, and it just so happens that 100 of those employees happen to be in Canada among multiple provinces, so as a result, Canadian payroll made a lot of sense. So this visual that you're looking at, this roadmap, is one of those most powerful exercises you can absolutely go through and think about and work with your team on, and should hopefully really give you a good flight plan for what you're looking to accomplish, the timing of those events, and the components that are tied to that. But it's a great exercise, and it's something that you can always continue to go and revisit and update and manage as you need, as you see fit, and as your business changes. So how do you find your co-pilot? So going on this type of journey, picking a great co-pilot is really important, and a partner that, first of all, understands the difference in benefits of a SaaS deployment versus a traditional on-premise deployment is really important. The technology itself does dictate a different type of methodology and implementation plan. It's much more iterative in nature, and it's very powerful in the sense that it gives you the opportunity to experience the system earlier in the implementation, and as a result, continue to test and adjust that solution till you get it sort of refined and ready for production and rollout, versus a very traditional on-premise methodology or waterfall type project plan that may be, for example, 12 to 14 months in duration, may have customizations associated with it. That type of project is not your Workday SaaS deployment project. And as a result, selecting a partner that not only knows that, but embraces that and understands the power of that and will help you realize that through time to value and through a very high quality, but at the same time, somewhat accelerated deployment is really important. Partners that also understand that the deployment of a solution like Workday, which is a true SaaS solution that will continue to drive innovation and updates and changes on an ongoing basis, it's not just a short-term scenario. It's a situation where your partner really needs to understand and embrace the customer for life mentality, in the sense that it's critical and important that we get you live and we get you live successfully, but that we also help to continue to help you define your roadmap, to help you continue to get value and optimize and grow with the solution through your long-term needs. And that can either be because Workday continues to provide more capabilities through their application set, or your organization or institution continues to evolve and grow. And with both of those factors in play, a partner that can see that and wants to be part of that and wants to be your partner in that particular journey is really important. Someone also that can provide best practices and guidance. You don't want a partner that's going to walk into a design session and basically ask you the question, how do you hire people? Although that obviously has value to it, ideally with this type of solution, you want someone to come in and basically give you some type of prescriptive hiring model, and then basically go through more of a design validation discussion around the fact that with the implementations that we've had done to date and with organizations of similar size, industry, or scope, this type of hire process is what we've seen work really well. Let's talk about how this potentially could fit within your organization, or where the adjustments, if any, might need to be. And that's important not only from whether you're a global organization and someone that understands how to deploy global, whether you're potentially in financial services and understands the industry specificity of that need, or maybe a higher education, higher ed type organization or institution, I should say, and they understand what adjunct professors mean to your overall implementation and to your configuration and setup, right? Also, a partner that has a track record for successfully delivering similar projects. Make sure that they've done it before, that they have great references, and that they understand how to deploy companies in similar size, complexity, and even product footprint as to what you might be contemplating. And finally, but certainly not to be undermined, is cultural fit. In the end, although we are implementing a technology here, this is really a people-driven event, whether it's the people on your side of the fence that are actually doing a lot of the implementation work or the heavy lifting, or it's your partner that's bringing consultants and engagement managers or project managers to the table. That cultural fit and that understanding and that partnership around what success means is really going to help to drive the overall success of the project. I always say that projects aren't necessarily defined by whether things go well or don't go well, or whether there are challenges through the course of that project, but it's how you address those challenges that really ultimately dictate the success of your project. And that's a collaboration, and a lot of times that collaboration has to really comes down to cultural fit and common interests.